Greetings YouTube, I'm the Onion Knight Brian Hernandez bringing you the plant-based news. Starting with health news, an E. coli outbreak in the United States has sickened 7 people and prompted a meat recall. Adams Farm Slaughterhouse LLC is voluntarily recalling a range of meat products that may be contaminated with E. coli. The products include beef, veal, and bison distributed in the Northeast according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service. The USDA went on to say that, quote, the raw, intact, and non-intact beef products originated from animals slaughtered on July 15th, 25th, and 27th, and August 3rd, 8th, 10th, 11th, 17th, 24th, and 26th, and further processed and packaged on various dates between July 21st and September 22nd. Basically, they have no idea where this meat is. At least 7 people from 4 states have been infected with a potentially deadly strain of bacteria called STEC-O157H7.
Undercooked ground meat, you can get it from vegetables, from unpasteurized milk and juice, from soft cheeses. While it is found in vegetables, ultimately an animal is the source, so animal waste somehow has come in contact with crops.
Officials say they're concerned that some of the meat products may actually be frozen in customers' freezers. They advise that no one consume the contaminated meat and to either throw it away or to return it to its place of purchase. If you throw it away, the CDC recommends putting the meat in a sealed bag in the trash so that children, pets, and other animals can't eat it. E. coli H7 is a potentially fatal bacterium that can cause dehydration, bloody diarrhea, and abdominal cramps. Symptoms usually begin 2 to 8 days after exposure. While most people recover within a week, the infection can lead to a type of kidney failure called hemolytic uremic syndrome. Though this condition can occur in people at any age, it is most common in children under 5 years old and in older adults. Signs include easy bruising, pallor, and decreased urine output. Those who experience these symptoms should seek emergency medical care immediately. The USDA says the investigation is ongoing and they will inform the public as soon as they have more information. 5 of those patients have been hospitalized and no deaths have yet been reported. Science enthusiasts, pay very close attention. Bill Nye has a very important message for you. In his most recent video, a viewer asked why the environmental effects of animal agriculture are rarely spoken about in the media. Bill Nye acknowledged the environmental effects of the industry, stating that, quote,
thank you for your question. I hardly recognize you. I really appreciate you introducing yourself. So there is actually a lot of attention being drawn to the effect of agriculture on climate change. And I want to emphasize it's really cow belches coming out the mouth where most of the methane comes from. They have 4 stomachs. They do things a little differently than we do. And people are studying ways to make cows less belchful. I don't know how effective they're going to be, but there is actually a lot of attention being drawn to it. As far as there being a conspiracy, I really wouldn't call it a conspiracy. I just call it, we've been doing it this way for so long, 250 years, burning fossil fuels, burning the material of ancient swamps or wetlands. That's a hard habit to break. When it comes to agriculture, keep in mind that there are 7.3 billion people around today, but by 2050 there will be at least 9 billion people. There may be 10 billion people. And so those people are going to have to eat. And it's very reasonable that all of us will move increasingly toward a plant-based diet. And it will not be economical to raise cattle and sell meat. That it may go that way just with market forces.
Moving now to food news, when is cheese no longer a cheese? As one devout dairy eater ranted on the Sainsbury Facebook page, quote, call it Gary or something. Don't call it cheese because, all caps, it's not cheese. Cue a deluge of Gary-themed memes on social media. Sainsbury even got in on the act, sharing some hastily photoshopped packages of the new Gary range on Facebook. Moving to Ontario, over 100 pigs survived a truck crash, only to be later then marched to the slaughterhouse on foot. Police said the truck crashed as it was turning onto a road beside Fearman's pork plant in Burlington, Ontario around 7:30 a.m., which led to several pigs escaping and roaming nearby streets. Staff Sergeant Peter Corner of Halton Regional Police said there were about 160 pigs in the vehicle and most of them remained pinned inside as workers from the plant slowly removed them from the toppled truck and walked them to the plant. Dozens of animal rights activists watched in a tense standoff with police on Wednesday. Jenny McQueen says she was with Anita Krajnik, both part of the animal welfare group Toronto Pig Save, to, quote, bear witness to the animals on their way to slaughter. The mainstream media is historically notorious for protecting animal agriculture, but that trend is actually starting to change. Staff writer Kaylee Rogers of Vice says the UN needs to tell everyone to eat less meat. The United Nations opened its General Assembly session this week to discuss major global issues such as climate change and antibiotic resistance, but they really should be talking about bacon. The link between our food systems and many of the high-level issues being discussed at the UN this week is significant. Most experts agree that some small changes to what we eat, such as cutting down on meat, could have a huge impact on solving those problems. In fact, a study in 2009 calculated the global shift to a low-meat diet could cut the costs needed to achieve our greenhouse gas goals by 50%. Moving now to celebrity news, more familiar faces from the UK have come out against meat and dairy. Both UK model and actress Lucy Watson and quadruple platinum singer Ellie Goulding have a message for the world.
I grew up on a working farm in Surrey. My mum tells me that when I was like 3 years old, 4 years old, I used to look at the sheep in the fields and be like, Mum, is that what we eat? Are those lambs what we eat? And she said to me, she was like, I was just like, how have you figured that out at such a young age? I watched the video and it was about how like everyone has a scream and everyone can make noises to show they're in pain, but because fish can't, they are sort of overlooked. It's just like, I can't imagine ever going back. Like, I don't miss that life. I don't miss those meals anymore because I have the meals that I want to eat, just vegan.
To just sack off meat for a couple of days a week. Meat is very hard to digest, and it was also something that was once alive and was living flesh. I think there's definitely a myth that being vegetarian is all about eating vegetables and it being quite boring and tasteless, but most of the appeal of meat is the spices and the herbs that it's cooked in. You can basically dress something up the way you would dress up meat and you get the same thing. And I always buy things like kale and spinach, really good source of protein and iron, and we put those in a smoothie and cover them up with like cocoa powder and banana and peanut butter. So you get your greens and you don't even notice it.
Moving across the world now to Turkey, the resort town of Didim has been announced as Turkey's first vegan-friendly city. In vegan-friendly cities, concrete steps are taken to make vegan and vegetarian menus more common, and local producers are becoming more conscious on this subject. Didim will house a vegan festival that will be packed with vegan and vegetarian activists and food companies, featuring some of the best food, experts, clothing, and other vegan goodies guests can find. In Turkey, the number of both vegans and vegetarians is slowly growing, with developments visible in the country's social life. And finally, in beauty news, The Body Shop has launched a new line of vegan fragrances called Elixirs of Nature. Alright, I'm going to do my best to pronounce these. First, they have Swetinia, which is a fresh floral scent inspired by the genre of floral eau de cologne. Next, there's Bauhanti. I don't know who's naming these, which is a spicy wood that centers on the wapakau tree from French Guyana. Then we have Widrig Tonga, which is an aromatic cedar and showcases Clam Williams cedar wood from South Africa. Next we have Kahaya, which is a white floral bouquet composed of Kahaya blooms from Bora Bora. And then finally Nigratella, which is based on the scent of dark orchids from the Swiss Alps. In a related story, the animal agriculture industry is releasing its new fragrance, and it's called Depravity. The new fragrance is composed primarily of, quote, disregard for planet Earth, government subsidies, endless violence and suffering, and the shattered dreams of 1,000 children. And each time you spray it, your grandmother cries. Sorry, Nana. There's sweet, sweet depravity in the air. So we want to hear from you guys. What do you think of the E. coli outbreak in America? Should the UN, do you agree, should the UN step in and pressure other countries to reduce their meat consumption like China's doing right now? And also, who just filled in depravity on their holiday shopping list for someone? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. This has been the Onion Knight, Brian Hernandez, bringing you the plant-based news.